observation.
Come again, Bill?
I have an observation for me. It seems like this verse is implicitly stating that God is God of all nations.
Sure.
He may be the Hebrew people, may be his chosen people, but he in fact is God of all the nations.
It's not just a kind of an observation. Listen, Bill, this is the core of this chapter. How do I know? Because I know not just verses 6 and 7, I know also verse 11, 7:11. Okay, and what is verse 11 in chapter 10? I'm telling you, at the end of the day, I will have to convince you that I didn't ask Saul to bring it, just for the purpose of making the point. In verse 11, okay, we have a message to the nations, and it's the only place in the Bible, except for 2 words in Genesis and few chapters in Ezra and Daniel, that is in Aramaic, and is referring to and it is in Aramaic because it is addressing those nations. Okay, so I'll show it on screen. Okay, biblical Aramaic is written in the same way as biblical Hebrew, so you don't have to be afraid. Okay.
Does that imply that sort of the spoken common language was Aramaic at the time of Jeremiah?
No, it applies. I'm not saying it wasn't in some parts, but it applies to the fact that when talking about the lingua franca, okay, the English, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, you are all native English speakers, so it's not a very good example. But oftentimes I have sitting in my, except for me and Manyi are not native English speakers. And yet when we are conversating, we do it in English. Why? Because, that's the general lingua franca of our world. Now, in the time of Jeremiah, okay, the Aramaic was already the lingua franca of the Near East. That was the common language that was spoken among nations, and it's the go-to foreign language of the Bible. When the Bible wants to talk about, foreign, the Bible uses Aramaic. Okay? So in verse 11 of this very same chapter, Jeremiah is talking about a message to the nations, and specifically a message comparing the God of Israel with the other gods. I want to say that this is one of the themes also of the book of Jonah. You remember that next month we start also reading the book of Jonah, and one of the main themes of the book of Jonah is the universal versus the particular, if you will. God of Israel or God of the world. Okay, and how these two concepts live side by side. How can you be both national and universal? Okay, I think it's a challenge that is something that we have in the world today. Many people think of this challenge and struggle with it. Where do you draw the line between ultra nationals, okay, or ultra universals? Okay, because they both have some kind of a core truth to them. We're all made in the image of God. We're all human beings, okay? In that sense, we are all part of the same species. There is only the human race, okay, in that sense, okay? But if that causes you not to prefer your own child over someone you don't know, you have a problem. So taking the extreme, they both have some core truth to them, and there is a tension between them, and the book of Jonah deals with that tension between like the nations and Israel, one of the themes. Yeah. So anyway, the book of Jeremiah chapter 10 has a verse in Aramaic, as you can see on screen. Okay, let's read this. John, would you like to read this Aramaic verse?
Sure, yeah. Kidna te marun lehom. Elehena elahana. Sorry. Elahaya.
Elahaya. Very good.
Elahaya di Shemaya ve'arka la avadu.
Avadu.
Avadu yevadu me'ara'a umin tachot Shemaya ele.
Right. What a beautiful, beautiful verse. And let me convince you that it is beautiful, okay? You don't mind me doing it, okay? Even though it's anything Hebrew, today we extend also to a little bit of Aramaic. It's in the Hebrew Bible, so goes. Okay.
Here again.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's make it interesting. Let's make it colorful and interesting. So I will do this. Okay. And I will use this. Okay, let's make it colorful. Elahaya and ele. Do you hear the similarity? Hear the similarity between Elahaya and ele?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Moving on to a different color. Let's take some kind of a blue. We have Shemaya, the Shemaya, right? Shemaya. And Shemaya. Lo and behold.
That's the definite article, right? The trailing the
right. The Kamatz Aleph in Aramaic at the end of the word is the definite article. I should say that if you take interest in post-biblical Aramaic as well, in some dialects of post-biblical Aramaic, the definite article takes over the system, and forms that are indefinite show this. Okay. We have arka and ar'a. Okay. Arka and ar'a is really the same word. Okay. It's really the same word. What do I mean by that? I mean that originally in the Semitic languages, this was ard. Okay, but this sound of the emphatic D, okay, I call it the Homer Simpson sound, right? Guys, you know the sound that Homer Simpson makes? Da, right? Okay, so this sound, which is da, it's more like da, but it helps to remember when you find funny names, changed into other sounds. So in Hebrew, it merged into the tzadi. Okay, so we have the word eretz. Eretz. In Aramaic, okay, it merged initially into a kof, and then to the ayin. You can see that the tzadi, the kof, the ayin, and this da are emphatic or guttural. Okay, so we have the in Aramaic the emphatic d either to a kof. Again, you can see the kof either as a Q, or some systems Older ones would have a K with a dot underneath. And later on into the Ein, okay? This in like SBL or if you go IPA, it's more like this. It doesn't matter really, but into an Ein. Okay, if we change this, I'll just put a Kof and an Ein instead. So Kof and an Ein. So you get Arka and Ar'a. Both of these are equivalent to the word Eretz in Hebrew. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, which is really the verse corresponding with this verse in Jeremiah 10:11, right? God creating the heavens and the earth, right? So we have Elahaya di Shemaya ve'arka la'avadu. And again, we have something very nice here. We can see avadu with an ayin, corresponding with yevadu, perish. Okay, so we have avadu and yevadu. Not the same meaning, but sounds similar. Okay, so avadu, made, they made, and yevadu will perish. The root aleph bet daled versus the root ein bet daled. So this is a message to the nations. Kidna temrun lehom. This is what you should say to them. And the message is formulated in such a beautiful poetic way. Elahaya di Shemaya ve'arka la'avadu. The gods which heavens and earth they did not make, they did not create, right? Literally, right? The gods, Elahaya, di Shemaya ve'arka la'avadu, which the heavens and the earth they did not make. Yevadu me'ar'a umintechot Shemaya ele. You can even see that they kind of, Jeremiah chose to kind of mess around a little bit with the expected word order to get this beautiful structure and to get avadu next to yevadu. Okay, creating this chiastic structure. Okay, we have Elahaya, Shemaya ve'arka. Okay, if you will, 2, or we can do it 3, 4, 4, or D prime, you know, whatever way you want to call it. 3, 2, 1. Okay. And the message, Bill, that you've mentioned about the universality of the God of Israel is put in a language that is the go-to foreign language of the Bible. Okay? In order to be delivered to the nations. Okay?
Fantastic.
Pretty cool.
Fantastic indeed.
That's cool.
And you should thank Sol for bringing the chapter and yourself for making the observation. I'm only stepping to the plate, as I said. You are the guys coming, you know, and throwing the balls. Right. Okay. Yes,
So I had a
Beth.
question. Oops.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ladies first. Yeah.
Is this the only verse in the book of Jeremiah written in Aramaic, Netanyahu?
Yes. Yes.
Fascinating. Thank you.
Sure. My pleasure, guys. You are the guy. You are making this hour. I'm telling you. You might think that I'm just saying it, but I'm not just saying it. You know, without your questions, you know, it's like you have a Stradivarius at home, but there is no one to play it. So what, you know? So what does it doesn't do anything. A teacher without students is really nothing. What does it help if